Welcome, dear students and learners, to the course for the Master of Agroecology called Agroecology, Science and Practice. I am Dr. Tadeo Kahigwa-Tevasima. I teach at Mountains of the Moon University in the Faculty of Agriculture, and particularly in the Department of Environment, Natural Resources and Tourism. In this course, we have some key terms, although we have several other popular abbreviations, but I would like to bring your attention to whenever we see something written as AE, there we talk about agroecology because it's a term that is commonly mentioned. And then we have Abusicular mycorrhiza fungi, CA is conservation agriculture, and the IPM is integrated pest management. These are terms to make familiar our language to those that are not well familiar with the agroecological terms. This course, Agroecology, Science and Practice, is born out of the need that is facing current agriculture production systems. So we see that crops and livestock, their productivity is quite low, and most of the production is actually done on subsistence level. And there is quite a lot of nutrient depletion, yet in normal farming systems there should be a recycling of nutrients. So looking at the link between science and practice is actually the main call for this course. And agroecology in broader sense has been referred to be a science and a practice, and therefore it's a fundamental course for any agroecologist to know the science and the practice. Although these are not actually separate terms, the other is feeding into the other. That when we have theoretical scientific knowledge, when it becomes applied, then it is practice. And when it is contextualized, it's therefore embedded into specific farming systems, looking at the specificity and the variations that occur both in space and time and in the different setups of different farms. So agroecology, science and practice, being a fundamental course, provides students with knowledge of how to sustainably manage soil, cropping systems and livestock. It provides an understanding of agroecological principles, the practices and related agroecosystems. The emphasis is on the interactions between soil, crop, livestock, humans in a sustainable agroecosystem. So that is where we talk about the socio-economic but also the natural scientific perspective. For this course, we will also include an in-depth understanding of the causes, the extent and solutions to the constraints such as climate variability, this making us to adopt to the current situations and to which actually agroecology is addressing some of the situations that have been caused by conventional agriculture. We look at the current discourses such as agroecology as a solution to hunger. So feeding the 9 billion people by 2040, which actually is maybe even more than 9 billion people as had been anticipated earlier. We look at the food crisis, how to get healthy food, the debate on food sovereignty, and also the application of the socio-economic issues, including gender, indigenous knowledge, these being put in the forefront of implementing agroecology as a solution to the challenge of limited adoption of technologies that have been suggested, particularly to smallholder farmers. The core objectives of this course is to introduce students to the scientific foundations of agroecology practices and interactions in agroecology farming systems, and also to equip students with knowledge and skills of identifying and applying concrete agroecological practices in farming systems, and to equip students with knowledge and skills of analyzing socio-economic issues affecting agroecosystems. At the end of this course, the learners should be able to explain the scientific practices and interactions in agroecological farming systems, critically analyze farming systems and apply agroecological practices in the real sense, not only in theoretical perspectives, and analyze socioeconomic issues that are affecting agroecosystems. We shall learn through classroom lectures. We also will do field and laboratory work. In the classroom, we are mainly doing lectures, discussions among students, practical sessions, students learning how to search information about climate, soils, and farming systems, so using online databases. Students will also be exposed to different demonstration farms and smallholder farms in the framework of case study learning. Here we'll look at some of the agroecological farms in the Rwenzori region, but also we do case study learning where we actually explore other interventions that are on online databases, but also to increase interaction between students and farmers in a way of practical learning from particular cases of both what would be called a successful agroecological farm or one that is facing some constraints where the students can actually help to propose some solutions to such issues. So here is the breakdown of the content and the distribution of how we are going to cover this course. We will look at an overview of agroecological sciences and practices, the definitions, the case studies, the principles and applications of agroecology, and this is mostly taking us about 4 hours. We look at the constraints to farming systems at farm level, both the size of the farm, the soil factors, the climatic factors, and also look at the databases. We look at soil health and the management as a key foundation for resilience on the farm. So we look at the soil living organisms, we look at other compositions of the soil, the nutrients, the organic matter, the soil and water, and other processes happening on the soil such as soil erosion. Then we'll look at sustaining plant and cropping systems. We'll look at sustaining livestock management. We'll look at enhancing energy efficiency in agroecosystems, which is actually very key when it comes to efficiency of the farm, the appropriate use of energy. And then we look at biodiversity and interactions for sustainable agroecosystems. We will also look at the discourses, as I earlier mentioned, which entail feeding a bigger population, and this is mainly the excuse for genetic modifications, whether this is the way to feed a bigger population. We also look at the source of healthy foods and the food sovereignty perspectives in agroecology. Then we will look at socio-economic issues, including gender and indigenous knowledge. We also will eventually conclude this course by reflecting entire and looking into the key lessons that have been learned. This course, for those who are following particularly to attain a master's in agroecology, assessed via continuous learning, but it will also be having an end of semester course exam. The continuous learning will actually fetch 40%, and the end of semester exam will be at a 60%. Now we delve into the definitions. We would like to start with breaking this term agroecology into the popularly known terms, of which ecology is one. And in the broad sense, ecology is the study of the interrelationships between organisms and their environment. So we look at how plants interact with both the non-living and the living environment. That is the biotic and the abiotic factors. We also look at the ecosystem, and this in general terms is actually the total sum of the living organisms, their environment, and the processes of interaction between the various components of the system. So agroecosystems are the agricultural systems that are managed particularly for the production of food, feed, and fiber. And then looking at these interactions, we bring in the aspect of ecology. And when we talk about the sum total in an ecosystem, this is a very important aspect because it is what makes agroecology unique. That when you bring the total sum to work together, the different elements, they will produce more than when each particular element is working independent of the other. And in the real sense, agroecology will further bring to our understanding that there is no way a particular element can function independent of other elements. So when we are talking about the farm, it has soil, it has plants, it has animals, it has energy in form of the sun, pests, all these are in constant interaction. And when you break the cycle, then the new ecosystem that is created will not function like the one which you have broken. And this is where we talk about the sum total. At every moment, there is always a sum total. Even when you remove one particular element, the remaining elements will reassemble and reorganize and start functioning differently. So this functionality is in a way that determines our efficiency, our ability to recycle, and our productivity. In the next session, we are going to define further agroecosystem, and then it will lead us into the definite definition of agroecology, both looking at the scholars that have studied this subject deeper and also looking at the practical application of these definitions. Thank you. We take a break and look forward to meeting in the next session.